Alright, so today I have two guitars loaded with two of the most popular options for high gain metal tones in the bridge position. Let's check it out. Alright, so first up I have this made in Mexico Charvel SoCal 2. This is a 2019. And in the bridge position, I have the brand new Fishman Open Core Modern. Let's see if you can see that. So this is basically the standard Fishman Modern pickup, only the blade magnets are exposed. And to me, this new version of the pickup does have a little bit more going for it than the covered version. I haven't quite proven that to myself yet with an A/B test, but I might get there. And then up next, what I have is this Squier Sonic single pickup Telecaster made in Indonesia. And what I have going on is a Seymour Duncan Invader, one of the most high output, aggressive pickups that you can buy. And despite the obvious differences between these two guitars, they are both Telecasters. They're both 25.5-inch scale length. And they both play very nice and are very good guitars. With that being said, obviously the $1,000 price tag on the Charvel gives it a little bit more of that professional feeling in the hand, but that doesn't mean that this Squier here doesn't have a lot of bang for its buck. Now, really what I'm looking at today is we have this massively high output passive pickup, and we have what has become like the standard active pickup for most metal guitars in the modern era. And I just want to see, does one sound better than the other in a mix? Does one have something more to it in, its frequency response in a high gain situation? My expectation is that the differences should be pretty minimal, but, we'll see. So first, let's go ahead and listen to both these guitars in a high gain mix and see if there's anything that we can discern between the two pickups. And for this mix today, I'm doing something a little different. I'm actually featuring a plugin that I haven't really used on the channel before, the MLC Subzero 100 from Bogren Digital. It came out earlier this year, and it is a fantastic plugin that honestly rivals anything that Neural DSP has put out. It has become one of my main go-to plugins. I haven't featured it because I've been doing a lot of real amp stuff lately, but it is one you should definitely check out. Additionally, I've also switched over to ML Drums for my drum samples. I'm using the Essentials pack from ML Drums. I was kind of turned on to by watching John Simons over at Sonic Drive Studio, and I started to mess with it, and I really like the workflow. I really like the tweakability and kind of how it's, set up for mixing. So that's what I'm using today. So let's get to it. Okay, so in that mix, I feel like the differences were pretty subtle, but they weren't non existent. And this was pretty apparent when I was going through mixing the track. It was obvious that the Seymour Duncan Invader is much louder coming out of the guitar than the Fishman Fluence. And, I think a lot of people think that the Fishmans are really high output, and they're kind of just, they're on the higher end of output, but they're not like absurdly high output pickups. I had to actually adjust the input on this guitar by about 2 decibels to match what was going on with this guitar. Aside from that, just listening to the isolated guitar tracks when I was doing the mix, there is something going on different in the top end and somewhat of the mid range on the Fishman that the Invader just doesn't quite have. But the Invader also seemed to be a bit more focused and a little bit more hefty, a little bit more of that low end growl going on. And, pick or choose, I don't know which one I would necessarily say just from listening to them in a high gain mix. Either one really kind of does something for me in some way. So to try to give you the opportunity to kind of hear what I was hearing, let's go ahead and listen to those isolated guitar tracks, back to back in rapid fashion, just to see if what I'm hearing is something that you can pick up on through this video. All right, so in isolation, those guitar tracks, you can kind of hear that what I was talking about before. You have that little bit of like mid range and high end, kind of a little bit of fizziness coming through in the Fishman. There's also a little bit more of a compressed sound. Now, that's been kind of something that's been kind of like a criticism levied against most active pickups is how compressed they sound. And I can kind of hear that. I do like the sound overall. And I think if I were in a recording situation, I would definitely go with the Fishman Fluence Modern because it is a very consistent and very easy to mix tone. With that said, the Invader is a lot of everything. Now, it has a little bit of a roll off on the top end, and there's a little bit more of that low mid growl, and it's a very dynamic and just punchy pickup. So, if I were in a live situation, I would probably opt for the Invader. Honestly, it's not a bad idea to have a mix of both active and passive pickups in your, collection of guitars. Now, for some of you, you're going, this is all being done through some digital model of an amp. I would prefer to hear what it sounds like, in the real world. Well, let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to quickly play through my EVH Stealth, and I'm going to mic it up, Mesa oversized cab with an SM57, and I'll play a couple, clean tones on both guitars, and then a couple high gain tones on both guitars, and you can figure out if you can hear any difference, in the real world. All right, so what do you think? Massive difference? Minimal difference? Enough to make you want to go one way or the other? Go ahead and let me know in the comments, and see you next time. Later.